The morning of March 15th was just another day for Ranjit Sengupta. Sitting on his favorite armchair by the window, sipping his tea, enjoying the view of the street outside was something he did every day. The room was lit with the sunlight coming in through the curtain rods, making a perfect glow on the wooden floor. This two-room place was his home for 30 years. Old cracks on the walls, the smell of the paint, the sound of the door frame creaking when he got up were all reminders of what he went through and how far he had come in life. And now that would all change because of the simple ring of the doorbell. Ranjit walked towards the front door with a stick in his hand. His left leg, which he lost during the war, was swollen and painful, reminding him of the incident that shook him to the core decades earlier. Opening the door, he was greeted by a view of a young man wearing a black suit and a white envelope in his hand. Ranjit gave him a strange look as the stranger opened his mouth to speak. "Is Mr. Ranjit Sengupta residing here?" asked the stranger. Ranjit gave a puzzled look and nodded. The young man handed him the envelope and disappeared as quickly as he appeared. Closing the door, Ranjit's heart pounded loudly in his ears. Taking the envelope, he opened it and read the contents. It was an eviction notice. His eyes widened in disbelief as he read the words on the paper. According to the notice, he had to vacate the house immediately. For the past 6 months, he had been late with the rent payments. He had damaged the property and was violating the terms and conditions of the lease agreement. Ranjit's hands started shaking. What did the man mean by saying he was late with the rent payments? Over the course of 30 years, he had been paying the rent on time every month. And now, when he was about to retire and start a new chapter in his life, this had to happen to him. His heart was pounding heavily in his chest as he slowly walked towards the nearest chair and sat down, clutching the eviction notice in his hands. Old memories drifted away as Ranjit remembered how every month he used to write out a check for the previous month's rent. But the building had been sold to a real estate company named Golden City Realty 3 months earlier, and the new owner had decided to evict him. The injustice of the system dawned on him as he clenched his fists. How could a country forget its heroes? The army had taken a lot from him, but it had given him discipline. Taking a deep breath, Ranjit reminded himself that the army had taught him to deal with tough situations, so he shouldn't let such meaningless problems affect him either. He was a soldier, and he had faced far more terrifying situations in the war than this. Looking at the eviction notice, Ranjit got up and walked towards his bedroom. He opened the second bottom drawer of his bed and took out a small metal box. Opening it, he pulled out a bundle of papers tied together with a thread. The documents on the papers showed every canceled rent check from the year 1986. Ranjit's lips curled into a smile as he looked at the documents. They had the proof the authorities needed for him to stay in the apartment. No one and nothing would take this from him. Ranjit spent the whole night going through the contents of the box. He pulled out each bundle of paper one by one, organizing them carefully in chronological order on the table. He had a long way to go before he would have enough papers to prove that he had been a responsible tenant for the past 30 years. He would need the help of the authorities to fight the corrupt individuals trying to take advantage of him. His first visitor was Mr. Rajiv Khan, one of the neighbors who had been living on the other side of the apartment for the last 20 years. He was a retired schoolteacher with a soft voice and a watchful eye. When Ranjit explained the situation, he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "This is outrageous and unacceptable. I have witnessed that apartment being well maintained by you for the last 3 decades. I will be there to testify about this," said Rajiv, slamming his fist on the table for emphasis. Rajiv was a very reasonable man and was always known to keep himself calm, but this was too much for him. "I do not know why the authorities would want to take your apartment away from you, but I will be there to help you." Hearing the positive response from his neighbor, Ranjit decided to pay a visit to the new building manager, Mr. Mehra. He wanted to understand why a reputed company such as Golden City Reality would go through such great lengths to evict him. But when Ranjit arrived at the reception of the building, the receptionist told him that Mr. Mehra wasn't available and that he could leave a message. As the receptionist didn't seem very interested in his request, Ranjit left the message and walked away, feeling rather deflated. Something in him snapped as he walked out of the building. Ranjit dialed his friend's number and talked to him for a while. Knowing his friend was a retired army officer, he asked him for a recommendation. "There is a lawyer named Shravani Roy who specializes in fair housing cases and is known for fighting powerful opponents. She is young and quite talented. I believe she would take up your case with a lot of enthusiasm," said his friend. The next day, Ranjit met Shravani and was surprised when she told him that his documents were quite compelling. "In my experience, preparing well is half the battle won," she said. Shravani had a kind smile as she looked at the bundle of documents in front of her. "I will take up your case, Mr. Sengupta. Golden City Reality might have a lot of resources, but I assure you that their actions will not go unpunished." Hearing her say those words, Ranjit felt something in him shift. "Ma'am, when I was 25 and fighting in the war, I lost my leg for the freedom of this country. If that didn't break me, I don't think anything can," he replied proudly. Shravani saw something in Ranjit's eyes that told her he was no ordinary client. She was dealing with a soldier who had seen the horrors of war. The next few days were a blur for Ranjit as he went through his old documents and sorted out all the proofs of his allegations. Shravani sent out a legal notice to Golden City Reality, asking for the proofs for their allegations. When she didn't receive any satisfactory reply, she filed a counter-citation in the Fair Housing Court. In the meantime, she started going through all the tenants of the building. It turned out that most of the long-term residents had received eviction notices from the company with similar allegations. Shravani assured them that she would be helping all of them with their cases and encouraged them to stand up for their rights. A week later, Ranjit, Shravani, and Rajiv stood in the courtroom listening to the judge go through the details of the case. When the hearing started, Ranjit wore his best Old Navy outfit. He had kept it especially for days when he needed to look like a proper gentleman. His white salt hair was neatly combed, and his beard was trimmed. The young lawyer had a look of sheer apprehension on her face as she watched the judge deliver the verdict. Judge Verma was a strict-looking woman who didn't tolerate nonsense. She took a moment to go through the documents and listen to the arguments before announcing her decision. "Let us begin with the defense. Mr. Mehra, you may now state your arguments," said the judge. The defense lawyer stood up and started talking. "The tenant has been misbehaving and harassing our staff for a long time. He has been damaging the property and ignoring all the notices for the repair of the damages. He doesn't seem to have paid his rent for the past 6 months, and now he expects us to take his allegations seriously," said the defense lawyer. The defense lawyer was talking for nearly 20 minutes, but Ranjit didn't seem to hear any of it. Shravani was right. Fighting in the war had made him strong. He took a deep breath and looked straight at the judge. "Your Honor, the The allegations in this case are based on sheer lies. My client is a war veteran who has served this country with great honor. For 30 years, he has been living in the apartment and maintaining it on a regular basis. Shravani stood up and walked up to the judge's desk. "Your Honor, I would like to submit these documents for your perusal," said the lawyer as she placed a thick file on the judge's desk. The file contained Ranjit's rent payment receipts since the year 1986. These documents show that my client has been paying his rent regularly and has been maintaining the apartment as per his monthly rent. Shravani looked up at the judge and continued, "I would like to inform the court that my client is a decorated war veteran who has been serving this country with great pride and humility, and I strongly believe that his allegations are valid because these documents contain undeniable proof of 30 years of timely rent payments." Shravani's turn to respond came when the judge asked the defense lawyers to file their responses. She looked calm and collected as she stood up to talk, but her hands betrayed her by shaking slightly. "Your Honor, in my 30 years of experience, I have dealt with many complicated cases, but none as complicated as this one. Mr. Ranjit Sengupta has been a model tenant for 30 long years, and now he is being falsely accused of misbehaving with the staff and damaging the property." The defense lawyer walked up to the judge's desk and submitted a file. "Your Honor, this is in response to Ms. Shravani's allegations. Please take note of this document," he said as he placed the file on the judge's desk. The documents inside stated that Ranjit had been a mischievous tenant and had been causing trouble by ignoring all the notices regarding the repair of the damages. The judge took a moment to go through the documents and listen to the arguments before delivering her verdict. "I think we have heard enough for now. Mr. Mehra, I would like to hear what you have to say." Mr. Mehra was sweating profusely as he stood up shakily. He avoided looking at Ranjit as he spoke. "Your Honor, I would like to state that the allegations in this case are entirely based on facts." When the judge looked at him, he hesitated before continuing. "My client has been receiving complaints from the tenants in this building that their premises had been damaged." The judge looked at Shravani and then at Ranjit. "What do you have to say about these allegations, Mr. Sengupta?" she asked. Ranjit looked at the judge straight in her eyes. "Your Honor, I am a law-abiding citizen, and I have been paying my rent regularly for the past 30 years. He paused briefly before adding, "And I have maintained the apartment in excellent condition as well." Before proceeding to the next step in the hearing, Judge Verma asked Ranjit to present his evidence. "Your Honor, I would like to inform you that I have proof of my allegations." Shravani looked at the judge before continuing. "In my experience as a lawyer, evidence in such cases is critical, if not decisive." Ranjit stood up and looked at the judge. "Your Honor, I have maintained this apartment for 30 years, and I have always taken care of it as if it was my own personal property." He turned around and looked at the audience before proceeding. "And now, someone is telling me that I have been causing damage to the apartment." The judge looked at Ranjit and then at Mr. Mehra. "What do you have to say about these allegations, Mr. Mehra?" she asked. Mr. Mehra's face was pale as he replied, "Your Honor, I have no comments to make regarding these allegations." He looked nervous as he avoided looking at anybody in particular. "However, I do want to inform you that my client has been receiving many complaints from the tenants in this building." Judge Verma looked at Ranjit and then at Mr. Mayra. I see. Well, Mr. Mayra, if you are not willing to comment on these allegations, I would like to hear what you have to say, Mr. Sengupta. Ranjit looked nervously at Shravani before speaking. Your Honor, the allegations in this case are based on sheer lies. Ranjit looked up at the judge. Your Honor, I am a law-abiding citizen, and I believe that the allegations in this case are nothing more than attempts by Golden City Reality to evict me from the apartment. He took a deep breath before continuing. For 30 years, I have been maintaining the apartment in excellent condition. I took care of all the damages myself. The judge looked at Ranjit and then at Mr. Mayra. Well, Mr. Mayra, if these allegations are true, they do come as a shock. But I understand that your company has been receiving many complaints from the tenants in this building. She paused briefly before adding, therefore, I would like to hear what you have to say about these allegations. Mr. Mayra looked nervously at the judge. Your Honor, my company has been receiving many complaints from the tenants in this building, and now they are accusing me of evicting Mr. Sengupta from the apartment without just cause. The judge looked at Ranjit. And what do you have to say about these allegations, Mr. Sengupta? She asked. Ranjit looked nervously at Shravani before speaking. Your Honor, I am a law-abiding citizen, and the allegations in this case are nothing more than attempts made by Golden City Reality to evict me from the apartment. The judge looked at Shravani. I would now like hear you, Ms. Shravani. What do you have to say about these allegations? She replied, Your Honor, my client has been a model tenant for 30 years, and he has been maintaining the apartment in excellent condition, as per his monthly rent. She paused briefly before continuing. Furthermore, in response to Mr. Mayra's allegations, my client has been paying his rent on time every month. The judge looked at Mr. Mayra. Well, if this isn't a surprise. Mr. Mayra, if these allegations are true, they surely come as a shock to me as well. Ranjit looked at Shravani and then at Mr. Mayra. Your Honor, I am a law-abiding citizen, and the allegations in this case are nothing more than attempts made by Golden City Reality to evict me from the apartment. He turned to face the audience before continuing. Furthermore, I believe that the allegations in this case are nothing more than attempts by Golden City Reality to intimidate me from continuing to live in the apartment. Ranjit looked at Mr. Mayra. Mr. Mayra, I believe that the allegations in this case are nothing more than attempts made by Golden City Reality to evict me from the apartment. Therefore, I demand that you cease and desist from evicting me from the apartment immediately. The judge looked at Ranjit before speaking. Well, I don't think that's a very good idea. She looked at Ranjit again. In my 30 years of experience as a judge, I have never seen a case as serious as this one. The lawyer looked at Shravani before continuing. However, based on the evidence you have presented, I believe that Golden City Reality's allegations are entirely baseless. Shravani was about to speak when suddenly the judge looked up from the documents in her hand. Your Honor, I believe that Golden City Reality has been evicting tenants from the apartment in order to make profits from the company's stock market. She turned to face the audience. Furthermore, I believe that Golden City Reality has been evicting tenants in order to gain control over the apartment. Mr. Mayra looked nervously at Shravani. Your Honor, my company has been evicting tenants from the apartment in order to make profits from the company's stock market. The lawyer looked at Ranjit before continuing. In addition to Mr. Mehra's assertions, I believe that Golden City Reality's allegations are nothing more than attempts to evict Mr. Sengupta from the apartment in order to gain control over the apartment. The judge looked at Shravani. Well, Mr. Mehra, I am surprised to hear such allegations coming from you. But based on the evidence Ms. Shravani has presented, I find your allegations to be entirely baseless. Therefore, Ms. Shravani, what do you have to say about these allegations? She replied, Your Honor, I believe that these allegations are entirely baseless. Shravani turned to face the audience before continuing. Furthermore, I believe that Mr. Mehra is accusing his tenant of misbehaving in order to gain control over the apartment. The judge looked at Ranjit. Well, Mr. Sengupta, what do you have to say about these allegations? She asked. Ranjit looked nervously at Shravani. Your Honor, I believe that Mr. Mehra is accusing his tenant of misbehaving in order to gain control over the apartment. The judge looked at the audience. Well, I don't think that's a very good idea. She looked at Ranjit. Furthermore, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I strongly believe that the allegations presented by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. The judge looked at Ranjit. Well, Mr. Sengupta, it seems that the allegations made by Golden City Reality have been found to be false. She turned to face the audience. Furthermore, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani, I believe that Golden City Reality has been evicting tenants in order to gain profits from the company's stock market. The judge looked at Ranjit. As an honest citizen, I believe that Mr. Sengupta has been evicting his tenants in order to gain profits from the company's stock market. At long last, the judge came to a decision. She looked at Shravani and said, Well, I think we've heard enough for now. Ms. Shravani, you seem to have enough evidence to prove that the allegations made by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. Therefore, based on the evidence presented by you and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. Furthermore, based on the evidence presented by you and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality have been found to be false. Ranjit looked at Shravani before speaking. Your Honor, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. Furthermore, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality have been found to be false. Shravani looked at Shravani before speaking. Well, Mr. Mehra, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. Furthermore, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality have been found to be false. The judge looked at Ranjit. Well, Mr. Sengupta, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality are entirely baseless. Therefore, based on the evidence presented by Ms. Shravani and Mr. Mehra, I believe that the allegations made by Golden City Reality have been found to be false.